H3 with a guest star, Danger Strong. A little beer would suit me better, if it is all the same to you, my good sir, said Balin with the white beard. But I don't mind some cake, seed cake if you have any. Lots, Bilbo found himself answering, to his own surprise. And he found himself scuttling off, too, to the cellar to fill a pint beer mug, and then to a pantry to fresh 2 beautiful round seed cakes, which he had baked that afternoon for his after-supper morsel. When he got back, Balin and Dwalin were talking at the table like old friends. As a matter of fact, they were brothers. Yes, they were. Bilbo plumped down the beer and the cake in front of them when loud came a ring at the bell again, and then another ring. Gandalf, for certain this time, he thought, as he puffed along the passage, but it was not. It was 2 more dwarves, both with blue hoods, silver belts, and yellow beards. And each of them carried a bag of tools and a spade. In they hopped as soon as the door began to open. Bilbo was hardly surprised at all. "What can I do for you, my dwarves?" he said. "Kili, at your service," said the one, and Fili, added the other, and they both swept off their blue hoods and bowed. "And yours and your families," replied Bilbo, remembering his manners this time. "Dwalin and Balin here already, I see," said Kili. "Let us join the throng." "Throng," thought Mr. Baggins. "Oh, I don't like the sound of that. I must really sit down for a minute and collect my wits and have a drink." He had only just a sip in the corner while the 4 dwarves sat round the table and talked about mines and gold and troubles with goblins and the depredations of dragons and lots of other things which he did not understand and did not want to, for they sounded much too adventurous, when ding-dong-a-ling-dang, his bell rang again, as if some naughty little hobbit boy was trying to pull the handle off. "Someone at the door," he said, blinking. "Some 4, I should say by the sound," said Fili. "Besides, we saw them coming along behind us in the distance." The poor little hobbit sat down in the hall and put his head in his hands and wondered what had happened, and what was going to happen, and whether they would all stay to supper. Then the bell rang again, louder than ever, and he had to run to the door. It was not 4 after all, it was 5. Another dwarf had come along while he was wondering in the hall. He had hardly turned the knob before they were all inside, bowing and saying, "At your service." One after another, Dori, Nori, Ori, Owen, and Glóin were their names. And very soon 2 purple hoods, a gray hood, a brown hood, and a white hood were hanging on the pegs, and off they marched with their broad hands stuck in their gold and silver belts to join the others. Already it had almost become a throng. Some called for ale, some for porter, and one for coffee, and all of them for cakes. So the hobbit was kept very busy for a while. A big jug of coffee had just been set on the hearth. The seed cakes were gone, and the dwarves were starting on a round of buttered scones when there came a loud knock, not a ring, but a hard rat-tat on the hobbit's beautiful green door. Somebody was banging with a stick. Bilbo rushed along the passage, very angry, altogether bewildered and bewildered. This was the most awkward Wednesday he ever remembered. He pulled open the door with a jerk, and they all fell in, one on top of the other. More dwarves, 4 more, and there was Gandalf behind, leaning on his staff and laughing. He had made quite a dent on the beautiful door. He had also, by the way, knocked out the secret mark that he had put there the morning before. "Carefully, carefully," he said. "It is not like you, Bilbo, to keep your friends waiting on the mat," and then opened the door like a pop gun. "Let me introduce Bifur, Bofer, Bombur, and especially Thorin." "At your service," said Bifur, Bofer, Bombur, standing up in a row. Then they hung up 2 yellow hoods and a pale green one, and also a sky blue one with a long silver tassel. The last belonged to Thorin, an enormously important dwarf. In fact, no other than the great Thorin Oakenshield himself, who was not at all pleased at falling flat on Bilbo's mat with Bifur, Bofer, and Bombur on top of him. For one thing, Bombur was immensely fat and heavy. Thorin was indeed very haughty and said nothing about service, but poor Mr. Baggins said he was sorry so many times that at last he grunted, "Pray, don't mention it," and stopped frowning. Now, we are all here, said Gandalf, looking at the row of 13 hoods, the best detachable party hoods, and his own hat hanging on the pegs. And we're going to hold right here. Yes, we are.